before we move on to the Adlerian content, I would like to review the steps of the game up until now. So we started from the spider model that revealed the cigar, two voices, the voices of the inner child and the mother or the father. You can call it the higher self. You can call it the responsible me, the grown up, the child. Another insight about that you can look at number 5 as your past and number 10 as your future self. And what we're doing here in this process is all the time working with those two vibrations, two frequencies of your inner discourse. Very important to see right now where you're at in the scale of number 5 and number 10, because we are right now got into the phase, let's say from week number 8 and on, we'll start to focus more on, the synchronicity of those sentences and how you can see them in your daily routine, the patterns, the autopilots, all kinds of situation. Let's say, for example, you got the card struggle. Let's continue the line from the last video. So where am I struggling this week? Like, try to observe where are you struggling. So and by practicing that observation, instead of getting attached to the story as before, you are already in kind of like a small quantum leap, because the level of awareness are, first, it's just me, without zero awareness, like it's just me living my life. The second one is observing myself, like meditation. When you meditate, you practice observation. So it's exactly the stage that we are practicing here. We observing on ourselves, but instead of in meditation, we are practicing how to do it on the here and the now, on the daily routine, moment after moment after moment. And the third stage of awareness is me observing myself. This is how Nisi Mamon, one of the teachers that I love to listen to, and the one who translated the Tao, talks about observation and awareness. So right now in your stage, you're supposed to be in kind of a level of, let's say, equal numbers, 80%, 85%, like more or less. When I'm talking right now on the scales of the voices, number 5 and number 10. If you remember at the beginning, number 5, most of the cases, number 5 at the beginning of this process is very high and number 10 is low. Later on in this process, number 10 is getting a little bit more power and number 5 is getting a little bit lower. It's still, they're like, struggling with each other. Then, let's say from the beginning of from week number 5 and on, what we want to achieve is starting to understand more how to observe each other instead of like fighting with each other. And right now we got into the stage that we can work together. We like, it's kind of like it's like a ceasefire. And right now we are like kind of like in win-win in terms of like the power that they have right now. And this is what we are learning here, how to communicate with the me and the myself. So when the gap gets closer, that's the time that we are starting, by stretching all kinds of like stiff muscle that were before, and created again and again this struggle. So right now we are teaching them how to dance with each other. So that was the spider, and I highly recommend right now, like from now on, every session, when you start the session, go to the spider, check the numbers between them, Maybe number 5 is starting to transform into something else. Maybe. I don't know. In order to, dance a new dance with number 10. So check that out. Later on, after the spider, we move to the memory, to the root canal treatment, this I call it. And we saw that there is kind of like a pattern that started from the root, from our DNA, because our values are there in order for us to express them. And if we cannot express them, and we knew who we are since we were in the tummy, so our values are very important for us, and each person has different values. So the memory it's a great exercise also to take this exercise of the memory and start to practice that exercise also on challenging situation during the daily routine. I do that a lot. When I have a tough situation, I practice how to see the strength of that situation and what is the limiting belief that right now, what is the pain that right now I'm feeling, and I can see the connection. That will clarify a lot of situation in your life, that you will see how to recognize the autopilot of the same root. So I highly recommend you to continue practicing the memory exercise, but on daily routine situations, events that you feel challenged and you feel the struggle is coming up. So that was stage 2. Week 3 was the vision, the effective question. After we dig, right now we want to see the horizon. So that was stage number 3. So we will create kind of like a framework from the button, from the past to the future. So that was week number 3. And then in week 4, we started to create the foundation of the new road. After we created the blueprint, now it's time, to build. So we gave the sentences, the anchors of the sentences, the milestones, the affirmations that we are working accordingly. And in week 5, we practiced how to receive, how to, surrender to some kind of like connections that up until now we didn't even know that we can create some kind of connection in our brain, that because it doesn't make sense. But you'll see, Ilana will speak about it in week number 8, about metaphors and symbols and how our mind and the subconscious are communicating by that. So by watching the photos, by connecting new concepts, that's how we train our mind to work in a totally different way. Week 6, which was last week, was the summary, which I call it the Excel of the week. Like it can show us very clearly what was the vibration, what was the frequency, what was the energy, we said, like emotional level, energy, motion, that I needed to adjust, to process. The P of the spider, to give a different perspective according to the emotion that was, up until now was pushing me off the rope and triggered me. So what was the frequency that I was looking, observing, working, molding in order to shorten the gap between number 5 and number 10 of the spider? That was the review. And the reason I'm sharing that review, first of all, is to clarify all this process. But at the same time, I want to talk about the word tantrum. If you are a parent, you totally understand what that word means. When your child was young and you wanted to walk with him on the streets, and then the tantrum came. And I remember myself with Eden. On that days, I used to study in Adler this theory. And my teacher taught us that when it happens, the only thing that you can do is to stand still next to the child and allow it to happen. Allow that tantrum to, to be. You cannot control the situation right now, is to stand and practice how to be the lighthouse. How to be the lighthouse for this child. And she gave a beautiful metaphor that I love to use, and all my students, clients know this metaphor. That when a child is in a tantrum, and soon I will take that child metaphor into our inner process of SMTW, but flow with me. If your child has a tantrum, that means that right now he's kind of like he got into emotional storm. And that emotional storm, in that metaphor that she gave with the lighthouse, she used that metaphor as a storm in the ocean. And this child right now is trying to navigate his own ship into a safe place. And you as a parent right now, you have two choices. You either choose the fight or flight mode, which is I will either fight with the situation, okay? I will control the situation. I will help him to control the situation. And the metaphor is like I will swim into his boat, his ship, and I will try to navigate with him the boat into a safe place, which in Adlerian eyes was wrong, because by that you are not allowing this child to create the trust, to investigate by himself how to work independently with his inner storms. But instead of those two options, which connect to survive mode, and I will speak about survival mode later on, you can be the lighthouse. And by being standing next to this child and projecting to him that you're confident that this storm will pass and he will find the way to navigate his emotions and to balance them, just stand still next to this child and say something like, I'm waiting that it will over, and then we can continue the walk or to talk. We can figure that out when you're done. And just stand still. And by that, what you're doing, you put a projector on the ocean and you give him some, ways by giving him the space of patience and trust and confidence. By just reflecting who you are, this child is starting to, develop all kinds of skills of, a self-trust that he can manage his emotional levels of situation like that. So if I take that metaphor into our own process, sometimes, yes, we get into tantrum. Our number 5, our inner child, is having a tantrum. All the places that we don't want to understand the sentences. It's okay if you don't understand, but at the same time, instead of it's very easy to judge or to put a finger on a situation, okay? Also, even the situation right now that I'm asking from you to analyze sentences that you don't understand. But instead of going with the automat that right now it's really hard for you to understand or to say it, I don't understand. Practice with yourself how to give the interpretation. How to, sometimes if you feel the tantrum and you feel it's too much for you to understand, it's okay. And allow yourself not to understand, but allow yourself to be the adult, the parent too, and to give yourself the space that you will trust yourself that it will come. You will find the clarity. You will find a safe place instead of struggle with those sentences. Allow yourself this space, because part of that process, not falling off the rope and not falling into the fight or flight, is space, is patient, is allowing yourself to navigate in the unknown, allowing yourself and trust. Just by allowing, you're already practicing how to trust. So I know that it was a long video, but it was very important for me to give you that information, that tool, that when you feel this tantrum, and when you feel the resistance, and when you feel that you really don't understand this process, it's also okay not to understand, but practice not to judge this process, because exactly like I just give you, the instructions. Your reaction is according to the interpretation that you give, and that itself, it's a great observation for you to see how you act in your life in some situations. So I'm, returning to you the ball. You do whatever you want to do with it, but I offer you an opportunity to be patient and to allow yourself this space. If you don't understand, to not understand, to be in that, stillness, to continue this process. Slowly, this process will be brighter and brighter for you. Okay, I wish you peace in your way. Bye for now.